322.
Ah, there we go, yeah.
Now here we go with the big, skull and bones.
Sure, yeah.
Masonic atomist.
Yeah.
Symbol 322. And so, of course, they go up to the clock tower, and there's a whole symbolism there about 322. And when it's 322, when it actually becomes 3:22 p.m., a shadow is cast from the clock tower to a window where they then know to find the Masonic brick.
Ah.
So very intricate, very interesting, and brilliantly done scenes.
Yeah.
Very excellent acting by everybody involved. Really highly recommend that movie, National Treasure, to those who've not seen it. Because a lot of people, will be turned off on these movies just because they're Hollywood, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's not right. I mean, don't go and see The Omen and God's sake, bypass Superman 2 or whatever, Superman Returns or whatever.
Yeah.
But some movies are very intriguing, and let's always remember that these movies do change people's lives and get them into subject matter that you may never have heard of before.
They do. I mean, one thing, because you mentioned 23 before, a new movie out with Jim Carrey called The Number 23. Have you seen it?
No, but somebody emailed me on the blog about it.
Yeah.
And I put up, I think, a clip. The number 23 has also been used recently in the last lot of weeks in a new Dr. Pepper advertisement.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if people go to my blog and go to the Symbolism link,
yeah,
you'll see a bunch of links to various commercials and other information. Notice the one that says, divide 2 by 3. There's a link there to the commercial for Dr. Pepper. Now, we've already analyzed in the DVDs that Dr. Pepper is nothing more than Satan.
Yes.
The devil, Pepper.
Yeah.
Right? And then now we got 23, which, of course, if you divide 3 into 2, it makes .666.
Exactly, yeah.
So they've got this whole Dr. Pepper movie commercial dripping with satanic symbolism. It's just right in your face,
Yeah.
Although the point is, it's not in a lot of people's places. It really is not seen yet by a lot of the world. So there's a great deal of need for people to still wake up and really understand just how deep and intricate the symbolism is, and how the language of symbolism and the language of words and the language of let's definitely mention Jack Coetzee. People need to go to his website, The Brave New World.
Yeah, it's a wonderful. I hope to have him back on the show soon too, Jack.
Right.
It's a brilliant, a brilliant mind,
isn't it? And he's on to that in a big way. Picking up from some of the work I've done, but taking it even further.
Absolutely.
To show emphasis on the mushroom cult.
Yeah.
Which is a Dionysian cult that is referenced a lot in these movies subliminally. He's done work on the 9/11, the Twin Towers. His work on showing what I particularly like about what he's done. He's shown that Manhattan, with the 2 towers, is a very old Masonic symbolism going back to what's called the primordial mound.
Yeah.
And the development of the Egyptian primordial mound used to have upon it towers. Two candelabra or 2 tall obelisks.
Sure.
And that Manhattan was again designed just like Washington D.C. is. Absolutely brilliant analysis there. So I really recommend people paying every day or every couple of days. Come to my blog, go over to Jack Coetzee's blog, and always be reminding yourself of how the symbolism works. And then send us stuff. People send me stuff from all around the world. People go, oh, how do you get so much information? A lot of it's great. A lot of it's due to people who are into what we're doing here.
Yeah.
From as far away as Australia, and South America, Colombia, Chile, you name it, Canada.
Yeah.
There's not a country in the world, Sweden, Finland, sending me to, look, I found this in my local neighborhood. You have stuff right there in, just right there in Gothenburg,
Gothenburg, yeah.
In Gothenburg, the way they've designed the, I think you pronounce it the Konserthuset?
Konserthuset, yes.
Oh, I'm pronouncing it terribly, yeah. Konserthuset. But, the design of that particular area down there is highly Masonic,
Yep, indeed.
Heavy duty,
Yeah.
Stands out a mile.
Tremendous. I mean, and that's the kind of a idea also that I like very much, that people all around the world, can contribute, and when we start, in that sense, working together and, incorporating these different ideas and notifying each other about these different news items and what's going on in the world and so forth. It is like we are creating our own little network, in that sense, loose network of which basically will help us to keep track of all this, all of this stuff, which is excellent. That's the main idea here. That's the purpose, to grow and learn from each other, all of us here. So
because we're all making the movie together.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you want to see, it's like Buckminster Fuller said. If you want to replace a rotten system, you don't just destroy that system. You build something to replace and outlive the existing system. And this is not an area for egotism. Like for instance, when I taught the children in California, and when we showed lots of stuff. I mean, we showed lots of movies, especially tons and tons of commercials.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of Prisoner. There was a lot of series called Blake 7, which I don't know if people have heard of, but we showed that to the kids. They really liked that, especially the very rare first episode of Blake 7, which is pretty much a collector's item. A stunning episode there about the drugging down of mankind. I learned more from those kids' responses to stuff that, I've been studying symbolism since I was 13, non-stop. I mean, dedicatedly, hard, every day, looking at magazines, keeping magazines and, with using the magnifying glass and studying everything, that had to do with subliminals.
Yeah.
And I learned more from listening to the children talking about what they were seeing than I'd ever done on my own.
Yeah.
About what they were seeing and what they thought certain things were, and even about the way that it was working on their minds, and more importantly, alternative ways to do it. Because again, I'm not against media. I'm not against television.
Yeah.
I'm for it. It's just what comes across it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I'm fantastic movies like 1 Hour Photo, Hellboy. I mean, I'm absolutely a fan of this kind of thing, especially Lord of the Rings and other movies that I would say were my personal favorites. I mean, we didn't want to go into what my personal favorite movies are. That's a whole other subject. But again, the medium is very important.
Yeah.
And we are in this is the age and the generation in which we pick up cameras. Look at YouTube and look at Google.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And go out and make your own little shows and upload them, or people are sitting there showing how to work out guitar pieces, and showing off their own talents and skills. This is a fantastic age.
Yeah, it is.
Where you can bypass all this jive that tells you, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that, and you're not good enough and all that jive,
Exactly.
And that's all been embodied by people. And when we were working at the school with the children, Symbolism, every week, I could not believe the amount of stuff that they were bringing into me. Wrappers, packages, shopping bags, clips, cuts, stuff that's cut out of magazines, subliminal stuff that they had observed. Because one person barking this truth, it's not gonna happen. People will refute you. They'll think you're a crank.
Yeah.
So if you have a community of people going, I believe you, I see it on my own thing. They've just built this thing in my town, or look what they're advertising over here.
Exactly.
Somebody just sent me a clip, from an English newspaper saying, politician asked for New World Order because of global warming.
Yep.
New World Order required to stop global warming.
I got the article up on my site now. This is the Brown. I can't remember his surname. I think it's Brown.
He's bending over backwards. He can't sleep at night. He's so worried about global warming. And he's come up with a brilliant idea. It's called the New World Order. Everybody get in line.
Yeah.
We can't handle it ourselves, and we certainly can't let independent nations deal with it.
Yeah.
Tribal unions and federations, and we certainly can't allow, America to be a democratic republic anymore, where each state rules its own state.
No,
because it knows its own needs. No. We have to have a new world order.
We total control grid with surveillance cam and a microchip population. That's where we're going to
under
have to
Jacob.
Go. Yeah.
Under Jacob, under the Jacobs, under the whole Atomist. Oh my God, it's just unbelievable. So again, we are now inventing, and I do believe that the subversion of this idiotic, conformist Orwellian nightmare is going to end. Yeah. I do believe that it's just because. Let's put it this way. Let's use the Da Vinci Code as an example. If you're a believer that which I'm not, by the way, but if you're a believer that the Priority Scion is just this wonderful highbrow family, like they show you in Rosslyn at the end, of well-meaning people who have been keeping this secret alive, and they're just such the most darling, highbrow intellectual class of people who are hard-pressed by the evil Vatican. Even from that movie, if you were a member of the Priority Zion, you would say that, listen, we have developed a very, very deep symbolic code. We've got into symbolism. We've learned how to hide ourselves. We've learned how to be, work without being seen. And the reason is because we had an adversary that was pursuing us. Right? So if you take my meaning, it's like groups develop their own artistic genius, their own brilliance, their own sophistication, because you have an adversary who's after you.
Yeah.
V is the same message. That the man's skills, his brilliance, his covertness, you see, is because he knows he's been hunted by every police force, you can imagine. He's literally on the wanted list.
Yeah.
So his skill, his genius, his uniqueness, his idiosyncrasy has come from the fact that he's a pursued person. Well, take it back to what I've been saying now about society.
Yeah.
The rebels, the outsiders, the people who absolutely know that we're being shot at, there's something severely evil going on in this world, or whether they know it or not, like little earthworms, developing the alternative way.
Yeah.
It's part of it. You don't get it because everything's rosy. You get it because there's something breathing down the back of your neck that won't let you live. Out of that system, you slowly create, you see, a new pattern, a jigsaw of different ideas. It may not be community. It may not be, going and living in these because that hasn't worked. Well, it may not be that. So don't limit it.
Yeah.
Don't say, it's going to be this. It'll take that form. It'll be groups of really cool hippie. The hippies tried that. It didn't work. So maybe it's not going to take that form.
Yeah.
It could be any number of things. So don't limit what's going to happen. Certainly don't get into frustration, and feed it with your powerful so-called negative energies. First of all, they're not negative, but don't feed it with fear.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or anger, because then you're like a prisoner being. No matter how he tries to get away, the ball is leading him right back to square one.
Yeah, it's totally true. Michael, this has turned out to be a kind of a 2-hour special here today. We have, nothing wrong with it. It's perfect to dedicate some time to these topics. But do you want to kind of finish off on a particular movie, or do you want to round things off right now? I mean, we could talk about, if you want, just some more about either Vanilla Sky or Apocalypto or something like that.
No, I didn't really get the chance to see Apocalypto too clearly, but, we can maybe leave that for another time. I'm just curious I love the idea of the forest, and the hunter, and the idea that Gibson is partly saying that, look, when your society crumbles, because remember, that's what that movie is basically about, and the tremendous quote from the movie is, a great civilization is not conquered from without until it has destroyed itself from within. So again, that's very reflective of what's happening right now.
Indeed, yeah.
That our society, as we were talking when we were speaking about Fight Club, could be on its way out.
Yeah.
Ergo, then what's the future when you step out of those roles? Apocalypto is trying to give you an idea of going back to nature and not fearing the fact that the walls break down. That could be a great liberation.
Could that be?
I've been also mentioning that in my solution, aspects of my talk. That look, when you predict what's going to happen between now and 2012, and you're leaking all this fear, why don't you see it as something actually positive, where it could be the ending of illusion?
Sure, yeah.
It could be the final breaking out of all this illusion that people are just so encompassed by.
Could it also be because there is now a fascination, basically, about stuff like the Maya and the Aztecs and the South American tribes over there? At this point, could this be kind of evidence in some sense that we're approaching this time also because we're kind of looking at other previous civilizations who've gone through similar periods? We're trying to pick up, if we can learn something, if we can understand why this happened. Could it be a hint? That's what I'm saying here.
Yeah. It's coupled with the idea that any dark people are shadow. So Gibson, the sort of white establishment, anyone making a movie where they don't really want to face something about themselves, often psychologically projects it. So the darker people of the world, it's that old colonialistic idea that it's them. They're the butchers. They're the evil ones. So, but bearing that in mind, still the movie works because it is a critique of America, of the Americas, of hierarchical society, of the idea that you're not spiritual in yourself. It's a priestarchy who's going to tear your heart out in the name of God.
Yeah.
And also, apocalypto, right? The idea, that's a very Christian term, that, there's an ending cycle that takes place.
Yeah.
And in that ending cycle, there is schizophrenia, just utterly schizoid people walking around who are not connected to their inner being, who have no values, no morals, because they're always waiting for the priests and the teachers and the system to give them those guidelines and those handrails. They have no inner compunction.
Yeah.
This is again why I keep pondering on that interesting division in the Da Vinci Code, that the people who have the conviction and the morality and the sort of the spiritual conviction are the Opus Dei hitmen. I don't know what to make of that. It's like bizarre. I would have preferred to see